2 months passed since the Battle of Earth. 2 months since humanity shocked the galaxy. 2 months since Ambassador Cathral's desperate message reached the Galactic Council. Now, the Council would decide what to do about the impossible humans. The Great Council chamber was silent. Representatives from 12 species sat in their assigned places, each one waiting to hear the full report. The chamber was vast, built inside an asteroid that had been hollowed out thousands of years ago. Glowing crystals provided light. Strange machines translated every word into every language. Ambassador Cathral walked slowly to the center of the room. His once proud scales were still scarred from the battle. Burns covered his arms where his escape pod had been damaged. He moved like a broken creature, and in many ways, he was. "Tell us everything," High Chancellor Morvith commanded. His gray tentacles moved restlessly. "Leave nothing out." Cathral told them. He described the shield around Earth that stopped their weapons. He described the missiles that appeared from nowhere and destroyed 8 ships in seconds. He described the human fleet that rose from the oceans and fought with technology that should not exist. He described the 4 hours of battle that killed thousands of Velthari warriors. When he finished, the chamber remained silent. No one could believe what they had heard. Counselor Yethra of the Mindari was the first to speak. She was a small being with large eyes and no mouth. Her species communicated through telepathy, sending thoughts directly into other minds. "I have been monitoring human communication since the battle," Yethra said, her thoughts echoing in every delegate's head. "They are celebrating. They believe they have won a war. They do not understand that the Velthari attack was merely a scouting force." She waved one thin arm, and images appeared in the air above the council. Pictures of humans dancing in streets. Videos of military parades. News broadcasts showing smiling faces and waving flags. "They are proud," Yethra continued. "They are defiant. They think themselves our equals now." A large creature covered in brown fur slammed his fist on his table. This was General Cormac of the Bruthari, the most warlike species in the council. "Then we remind them of their place." Senda combined. "Armada, 1,000 ships. Let them try to stop that." Several delegates nodded in agreement. Others looked uncertain. The Mindari counselor raised one hand for silence. "There is something else you must know. The humans have made a transmission. They wanted us to see it. The images changed. Now, they showed a human female in military uniform standing at a podium. Behind her sat representatives from every nation on Earth. The symbol of their United Nations hung on the wall. "I am Secretary of Defense Patricia Hayes," the woman said. Her voice was calm and steady. "I am speaking directly to the Galactic Council. We know you are watching. We know you are deciding what to do about us. Before you make any decisions, we thought you should see something." The image shifted to show space around Earth. What the Council saw made several delegates gasp in shock. Thousands of ships floated in perfect formation. Some were small and fast. Others were massive, bristling with weapons. Orbital platforms hung in space like deadly spiders, each one armed with enough firepower to destroy a moon. And speaking of moons, Earth's moon had been transformed. Its surface was covered with military installations, dome cities, and weapon systems that pointed outward in every direction. "This is what we built in the last 10 years, Hayes continued. "After we discovered the ruins on Mars, after we understood that we were not alone and not safe, we prepared. Your Velthari friends were kind enough to test our defenses. They failed. We learned from the experience." Her eyes seemed to look directly at each council member, as if she could see them watching. "We know you think we are primitive. We know you believe you can crush us with numbers. Maybe you can, but we will make you pay for every kilometer, every ship, every soldier. We will burn your fleets and break your armies. By the time you reach Earth, you will have nothing left to conquer with." She smiled, and there was something cold and fierce in that smile. "So please, send your armada. We could use the salvage." The transmission ended. The council chamber erupted into noise. Delegates shouted and argued. Some demanded immediate attack. Others called for caution. A few brave voices suggested diplomacy. High Chancellor Morvith raised his tentacles for silence. When the noise continued, he slammed them down on his table with a sound like thunder. The chamber went quiet. "We cannot appear weak," Morvith said, his voice heavy with anger. "If we allow these humans to defy us, every species in the galaxy will think they can do the same. Our empire is built on fear. If that fear disappears, everything falls apart." He looked around at the gathered delegates. "We will send the combined armada, every available ship from every species. We will show the humans and everyone else what happens when you challenge the Galactic Council." The vote was quick. 10 species supported the attack. 2, including the Mindery, voted against it. The decision was made as delegates left the chamber. Councillor Yethra approached Ambassador Kethrol. She looked at him with her large, sad eyes. "You fought them," she said into his mind. "You saw what they can do. Do you think the Armada will succeed?" Kethrol was silent for a long moment. His burns ached. His pride ached more. He had gone to Earth expecting glory and had found only defeat. "The humans have a saying," he finally replied. "They say that hope is not a strategy, but watching them fight, watching them refuse to surrender even when they should have. I think hope is exactly their strategy. They believe they can win against any odds. They make themselves believe it so strongly that it becomes true." He looked at Yethra with his yellow eyes full of something that might have been respect. "The Armada will have more ships, more weapons, more soldiers. But the humans will have something we do not. They will be fighting for their home, their families, their very existence. That kind of desperation makes creatures do impossible things." Yethra nodded slowly. "You think we will lose?" "I think," Kethrol said carefully, "that even if we win, we will pay a price so high that it will not feel like victory." Far away, on the blue planet called Earth, Secretary of Defense Patricia Hayes watched the stars from the roof of the Pentagon. Beside her stood Admiral Jack Morrison, recovered from the battle but still tired to his bones. "They'll come," Patricia said. It was not a question. "Yes," Morrison nodded. "Probably within a few weeks, and they'll bring everything they have. Can we win?" Morrison thought about the question for a long time. He thought about the ships they had built and the soldiers they had trained. He thought about the weapons from the Mars ruins that scientists still did not fully understand. He thought about his own planet, his own people, everything they had to lose. "I don't know," he admitted, "but we'll fight like nothing they've ever seen. And maybe, just maybe, we'll surprise them again." Patricia looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, a fleet was gathering. Somewhere out there, 12 alien species were preparing to destroy her world. "Then, we better get ready," she said. The countdown to humanity's greatest battle had begun. The Galactic Council had ruled the stars for 10,000 years. 12 alien species sat on the council, and together they controlled everything. They decided which planets could live in peace and which ones had to be destroyed. They believed they were wise. They believed they knew everything. They were wrong. Deep in the council's great hall, a place made of black stone and glowing lights, the leaders gathered to discuss a small blue planet. The planet was called Earth by the creatures who lived there. The council called it nothing. It was just another world full of primitive beings who had not yet learned to travel. Between stars, Ambassador Kethrol of the Velthari Empire stood before the council. He was tall and covered in dark green scales. His yellow eyes looked at the hologram of Earth, spinning slowly in the center of the room. He felt nothing but contempt for the tiny world. "These humans are weak," Kethrol said. His voice was cold like ice. They still use chemical rockets to reach their own moon. They fight wars among themselves over land and resources. They are divided into hundreds of small nations. They will fall within hours. High Chancellor Morvith, the leader of the council, nodded his large head. He was a Karnathi, a species with gray skin and tentacles instead of arms. Then you will handle this matter, Ambassador. Take a battle group. Give them the standard choice. Surrender or die. Kethral smiled, showing rows of shark teeth. It will be my pleasure. 3 weeks later, 15 Veltari warships dropped out of hyperspace near Earth's moon. Each ship was massive, bigger than any building humans had ever made. Their weapons could burn cities to ash in seconds. Their shields could stop any attack known to the galaxy. On the flagship, Kethral watched Earth grow larger on the main screen. He could see the lights of human cities on the night side of the planet. So many lights. So many lives that would soon belong to the Veltari Empire. Open a channel to all their communication systems, Kethral ordered. Let them hear their fate. His message went out across Earth on every radio, every television, every phone. Billions of humans stopped what they were doing and listened to the alien voice that spoke in perfect English. People of Earth, I am Ambassador Kethral of the Veltari Empire, speaking on behalf of the Galactic Council. Your planet has been chosen for integration into our empire. You will surrender all weapons, all governments, and all resources. Your leaders will present themselves to us within 24 hours. If you refuse, we will demonstrate our power by destroying one of your cities. You have no hope of resistance. Comply, and some of you will be allowed to live. The message ended. Across Earth, there was panic. People ran through streets screaming. Governments called emergency meetings. Military forces went on high alert. But there was also something else. Something the Veltari did not expect. There was anger. In a secure bunker deep beneath the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, Admiral Jack Morrison watched the alien fleet on his tactical display. He was 53 years old, with gray hair and tired eyes. He had served in the Navy for 30 years and had seen many battles. But nothing like this. Beside him stood Commander Lisa Park, his second in command. She was younger, with short black hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. She looked at the same display and did the math in her head. 15 ships, each one bigger than an aircraft carrier. Each one armed with weapons that made nuclear bombs look like toys. Sir, Lisa said quietly, what are our orders? Morrison was silent for a long moment. Then he picked up a phone and spoke one word. Prometheus. Across the world, in bunkers and military bases, officers received the same code word. It was a word that had been chosen 10 years ago, when humanity discovered they were not alone. A word that activated systems the public knew nothing about. The truth was simple, but incredible. In 2015, a secret mission to Mars had discovered ruins. Not just any ruins, but the remains of an alien outpost millions of years old. Inside those ruins, human scientists found technology beyond their understanding. They also found a warning. Other species would come one day. Species that would want Earth for themselves. The world's governments, for the first time in history, had worked together in complete secrecy. They studied the alien technology. They learned from it. They built weapons and ships and defenses that no one outside the program knew existed. And now, the time had come to use them. In the United Nations building in New York, Secretary General Maria Santos addressed the emergency assembly. She was a small woman with white hair, but her voice was strong. Every world leader watched her on screens, waiting to hear what she would say. The aliens have given us 24 hours, Maria said. They expect us to surrender. They expect us to be afraid. And yes, we are afraid. But we are also human. And humans do not surrender. She paused and looked around the room. She saw fear in many eyes, but she also saw determination. She saw hope. 10 years ago, we found proof that we were not alone in the universe. 10 years ago, we began preparing for this day. We have weapons they do not know about. We have ships they cannot imagine. We have the will to fight for our home. She took a deep breath. Today, we show the galaxy what happens when you threaten Earth. In orbit around the moon, Ambassador Cathrall grew impatient. The humans had not responded to his demands. No ships came to surrender. No leaders offered themselves. There was only silence. Enough waiting, Cathrall growled. Target the city called Tokyo. Fire the main cannon. Let them see what defiance costs. The flagship's main weapon powered up with a deep hum. Energy gathered at the front of the ship, glowing bright blue. The weapon was designed to crack planets open. One city would be nothing. The beam fired. A line of pure destruction shot toward Earth at incredible speed. Cathrall watched with satisfaction, waiting to see the flash of fire, the mushroom cloud, the death of millions. But something happened. Something impossible. The beam hit an invisible wall and scattered into nothing. The energy simply disappeared, absorbed by a shield that surrounded the entire planet. Cathrall's scales turned pale. His yellow eyes went wide. That cannot be. Scan again. Scan everything. His officers worked frantically at their stations. The reports came back, and each one was worse than the last. The shield was real. It was powered by technology the Valkyrie had never seen. And it was strong enough to stop anything they could throw at it. For the first time in 300 years, the Valkyrie faced an enemy that could fight back, and the humans were just getting started. Ambassador Cathrall stood frozen on the bridge of his flagship. His mind could not accept what his eyes had just seen. The beam that should have destroyed Tokyo had simply vanished. A shield surrounded Earth, a shield that should not exist. These were supposed to be primitives. These were supposed to be easy prey. Ambassador, one of his officers called out with fear in his voice. We are detecting energy signatures on the planet's surface. Multiple locations. They are powering up weapons. Before Cathrall could respond, the first missiles launched from Earth. They came from everywhere at once. From silos hidden in mountains. From submarines deep beneath the oceans. From platforms disguised as ordinary buildings. Hundreds of missiles shrieked up through the atmosphere, each one carrying a warhead that glowed with strange blue light. Raise shields! Cathrall screamed. All ships, defensive formation. But the order came too late. The Valkyrie had not raised their shields because they never expected to need them. Against a primitive species, shields were a waste of energy. That mistake would cost them dearly. The first wave of missiles struck 8 Valkyrie warships. The explosions were unlike anything the aliens had seen before. These were not simple nuclear weapons. These were antimatter warheads built using technology from the Mars ruins. Each explosion tore through metal like it was paper. Each blast created a small sun that burned for seconds before fading away. 8 ships died in less than a minute. 8 crews of thousands, gone in flashes of terrible light, deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. Admiral Jack Morrison watched the battle unfold on his tactical display. Green dots showed human missiles. Red dots showed enemy ships. 8 of those red dots had just disappeared. First wave successful, Commander Lisa Park reported. Her voice was calm, but her hands were shaking. 8 confirmed kills. Enemy survivors are raising shields and reforming. Morrison nodded. Launch the second wave, and tell the fleet to move out. On the ocean floor, massive doors opened in places that had been secret for a decade. Ships rose from hidden hangars, ships that looked nothing like human technology. They were sleek and angular, made of metal that seemed to absorb light. These were the vessels of the Earth Defense Fleet, built in secret using alien designs found on Mars. 63 ships in total, crewed by the best pilots and soldiers from every nation on Earth. Captain Danny Cole sat in the command chair of the destroyer, Relentless. He was 35 years old, a former fighter pilot who'd been recruited into the program 5 years ago. He had trained for this day. He had dreamed of it and feared it. Now it was here. All systems online, his weapons officer reported. Enemy ships are 400,000 kilometers out. They are damaged and confused. Danny looked at his crew. Young men and women from America, China, Russia, Brazil, and a dozen other countries. They had learned to work together, to trust each other. Now they would fight together. All batteries, Danny said. Fire at will. The Relentless and her sister ships opened fire. Beams of energy and missiles filled the space between Earth and the Valkyrie fleet. The aliens fired back, but their shots were wild and panicked. They had never faced an enemy like this. They had never been the ones who were afraid. On the Valkyrie flagship, chaos had taken over. Officers shouted reports that made no sense. Damage alarms screamed from every direction. Fires burned in the lower decks. The ship shook with each new impact. Ambassador Kethril grabbed the console to keep from falling. His beautiful flagship was dying around him. His fleet was dying. Everything he had believed about these humans was wrong. Ambassador, his communications officer said, "We are receiving a transmission from the human command." Kethril's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." Admiral Morrison's face appeared on the screen. He was calm, even smiling slightly. Behind him, Kethril could see dozens of humans working at stations, coordinating the battle that was destroying the Valkyrie fleet. "Ambassador Kethril," Morrison said, "I am Admiral Jack Morrison of the Earth Defense Force. I wanted to give you the same choice you gave us. Surrender your remaining ships, and your crews will be treated fairly. Refuse, and we will destroy every last one of you." Kethril felt rage burn through his fear. "You dare speak to me of surrender? You are insects. The Galactic Council will hear of this. They will send 1,000 ships. 1,000,000. Your planet will burn." Morrison's smile faded. "Then I guess we have nothing more to discuss. Good luck, Ambassador." The transmission ended. Kethril screamed orders at his officers. "All ships, concentrate fire on their command vessel. Kill their leader." But the remaining 7 Valkyrie ships were surrounded and outgunned. Human ships attacked from every direction. Missiles and beams tore through shields that were never designed to handle this kind of assault. One by one, the Valkyrie warships died. Captain Danny Cole watched as the enemy flagship tried to flee. Its engines flared as it turned away from Earth, desperate to escape into hyperspace. But the ship was too damaged. Smoke and fire poured from a dozen holes in its hull. "Target their engines," Danny ordered. "Disable, don't destroy. We want prisoners." The Relentless fired a precise shot that knocked out the flagship's main engines. The great ship drifted, powerless and beaten. Small escape pods launched from its sides as the crew abandoned their vessel. The battle had lasted 4 hours. When it ended, all 15 Valkyrie warships had been destroyed or disabled. Earth had lost 11 ships and 17,000 brave soldiers. But humanity had won. Against all odds, against an enemy that had conquered 100 worlds. Humanity had won. In his escape pod, Ambassador Kethril floated among the wreckage of his fleet. Through a small window, he could see Earth, blue and beautiful and deadly. He could see human ships moving through the debris, searching for survivors. They would find him soon. He activated his emergency beacon, the one that would send a message directly to the Galactic Council. His claws shook as he recorded his words. This is Ambassador. The mission has failed. The human fleet was prepared. They have technology we have never seen. Weapons that bypass our shields. Ships that match our speed and power. I do not know how this is possible. I do not know how a primitive species could do this. But they did. He paused and looked out at the wreckage one more time. They were ready for us. They knew we were coming. And they were waiting. On Earth, the news spread within hours. People gathered in the streets, not to panic, but to celebrate. Fireworks lit up the sky. Strangers hugged each other. Flags waved from every window dot in the United Nations building. Secretary General Maria Santos addressed the world. Her eyes were wet with tears, but her voice was strong. Today, we face the greatest threat in human history. Aliens came to our world to enslave us, to kill us, to take everything we are. And today, we told them no. She paused as cheers erupted from the people gathered outside. We are not alone in the universe. We know that now. And we know that not everyone out there is friendly. But we also know something else. We know that when humanity stands together, when we put aside our differences and fight for our home, nothing in this galaxy can defeat us. In the bunker beneath Colorado, Admiral Morrison sat alone in his office. The victory celebrations went on around him, but he did not feel like celebrating. He knew this was just the beginning. He knew the Velthari were just one species among 12. He knew the Galactic Council would respond to this defeat with overwhelming force. Lisa Park entered and handed him a cup of coffee. "You should get some rest, sir. You've been awake for 3 days." Morrison took the coffee but did not drink it. "They'll come back, Lisa, and next time, they won't underestimate us." Lisa nodded. "Then we'll beat them again." Morrison looked at her and managed a small smile. "I hope you're right." Outside, the celebrations continued. Humanity had won their first battle against the stars. But the war was just beginning. The Armada came 3 weeks later. Admiral Jack Morrison stood in the command center deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching his tactical displays fill with red dots. Each dot was an enemy ship. There were so many dots that parts of the screen turned completely red. "Final count," Commander Lisa Park reported, her voice tight with controlled fear. 1,217 enemy vessels. They're taking position around the outer edge of our solar system. Morrison said nothing. He had expected this. He had prepared for this. But seeing it on the screen made it real in a way that preparation never could. On the flagship of the combined Armada, High Chancellor Morvith looked at the same tactical display from the other side. His gray tentacles moved with satisfaction as he studied the human defenses. "They have built more ships since the first battle," his tactical officer reported. "Approximately 300 vessels now, plus orbital platforms, lunar installations, and planetary shields." Morvith made a sound like laughter. 300 against 1,200. They are brave, these humans. Foolishly brave. Open a channel. His message went out to Earth on all frequencies. His voice was calm and certain, the voice of someone who knew he had already won. "Humans of Earth, I am High Chancellor Morvith of the Galactic Council. You have impressed us with your resistance against the Velthari scouting force. But this is no scouting force. This is the combined military power of 12 civilizations. 1,200 warships. Crews numbering in the millions. Weapons capable of cracking your planet in half." He paused to let the words sink in. "Your bravery is noted and will be remembered. But bravery does not win wars. Numbers do. Power does. Surrender now, and your species will be allowed to live as servants of the Council. Your leaders will be executed, but your people will survive. Refuse, and we will leave nothing but ash and bones." The response came within minutes. It was just 2 words from Admiral Morrison. "Come and take it." The battle began. Earth's defense fleet launched from hidden bases across the solar system. 300 ships against 1,200. The math was simple and terrible. But the humans had one advantage. They knew this space. Every asteroid, every moon, every piece of debris was mapped and weaponized. Captain Danny Cole commanded the destroyer Relentless from the front lines. His ship had been repaired since the first battle, upgraded with new weapons and stronger shields. Around him, human vessels moved in formations they had practiced thousands of times. "Enemy fleet is advancing," his sensor officer called out. First wave of fighters launching. Danny gripped his command chair. "All ships, execute pattern Delta. Draw them into the asteroid belt." The human fleet retreated toward the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. The Council Armada followed, eager to crush the smaller force. But among those asteroids, humanity had planted thousands of mines, automated weapons platforms and traps. The first Council ships entered the belt and died screaming. Hidden guns tore into their shields. Mines detonated against their hulls. Asteroids that had been filled with explosives crashed into their formations. In the first hour of battle, humanity destroyed 100 enemy ships without losing a single vessel. But it was not enough. The Council had numbers that could absorb losses. For every ship that died, 10 more pushed forward. They learned from the traps. They adapted. They kept coming. On Earth, General Amy Torres coordinated the planetary defenses. She was 50 years old with short gray hair and a face that showed every battle she had survived. Screens surrounded her, showing feeds from across the solar system. "Lunar Fortress reports heavy bombardment," an officer told her. "Shields at 60% and falling." Torres watched the moon on her display. The fortress there had been humanity's pride, built in just 8 years using alien technology. Thousands of soldiers crewed its weapons. Now, those weapons fired constantly, sending beams of destruction into the advancing enemy fleet. "Tell them to hold as long as they can," Torres ordered. "Every minute they buy us is a minute we can use." The lunar fortress held for 6 hours. In that time, it destroyed 200 Council ships. But eventually, the shields failed. Enemy weapons pounded the surface, turning installations into craters, domes into rubble, weapons into silence. The fortress fell. Everyone inside died. Torres closed her eyes for just a moment. Then she opened them and kept working. There was no time for grief. There would be time later, if there was a later. The battle moved closer to Earth. The human fleet, now reduced to 140 ships, fought a retreating action. They died in 2s and 3s, but they took enemies with them. Every human captain knew they were not fighting to win. They were fighting to buy time. On Earth's surface, in a laboratory hidden beneath the Sahara Desert, Dr. Kevin Wright worked frantically on the last hope humanity had. It was a device found in the deepest part of the Mars ruins, in a chamber that had been sealed for millions of years. The device was called the Beacon, and the ancient text said it could call out to someone, something, ones who had built the ruins in the first place. "Power levels are not stabilizing," his assistant, Dr. Nancy Liu, shouted over the alarm sounds. "We need more time." "We don't have more time." Kevin adjusted controls with shaking hands. "The fleet is almost gone. The shields are failing. If this doesn't work..." He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to dot in orbit. The Council Armada broke through Earth's outer defenses. Ships began bombarding the planetary shields, the same shields that had stopped the Valkyrie beam. But 1,000 ships firing together were different from 15. The shields flickered and sparked. "Shield at 20%, Lisa Park reported. Her voice was steady, even though her hands were not. "Estimate 5 hours until complete failure." Admiral Morrison looked at his tactical display. 47 human ships remained. The enemy still had over 800. The math had not changed. It had just gotten worse. Pull our remaining ships back to low orbit, Morrison ordered. Make them fight for every inch. In the desert laboratory, Kevin Wright entered the final activation sequence for the beacon. The device hummed with power. Lights that had been dark for millions of years came to life. Ancient symbols glowed on its surface. "It's working," Nancy whispered. "Kevin, it's actually working." The beacon pulsed once, twice, 3 times. A signal went out, a signal that traveled faster than light, faster than anything human science could explain. It reached across space and time, calling out to whoever had built it. Then the power coupling exploded. Kevin was thrown across the room. Sparks and smoke filled the air. Emergency lights flashed red. When he managed to stand, blood running from a cut on his forehead, he saw the beacon sitting dark and silent. "No," he breathed. "No, no, no." He rushed to the device and checked the readouts. The signal had been sent, but there was no response. No sign that anyone had heard. No sign that anyone was coming. "Kevin." Nancy grabbed his arm. Her face was pale with fear. "It's not working." "What do we do?" Before he could answer, every light in the laboratory went out. Not just the laboratory. Every light on Earth, every screen, every engine, every electronic device went dark in the same instant. Then the stars went out too. Kevin and Nancy stumbled to a window and looked up at the sky. Where stars should have been, there was only blackness. Where the moon should have risen, there was nothing. The universe itself seemed to have disappeared. And then, in that absolute darkness, something arrived. It was too big to see, too big to understand. It filled the sky from horizon to horizon. It blocked out the sun. It was not a ship, not a structure, not anything that had a name. It simply was. And when it spoke in the mind of every living creature in the solar system, human and alien alike. "Who disturbs our rest?" Kevin fell to his knees. The beacon had worked after all. The builders had come. The voice filled every mind like water fills a glass. It was not loud, but it was everywhere. Every human, every alien, every creature that could think heard the same words at the same moment. "Who disturbs our rest?" On the flagship of the Council Armada, High Chancellor Morvith collapsed against his command console. His gray tentacles trembled. His officers screamed and clutched their heads. On every council ship, the same scene repeated. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Pilots lost control. The Great Armada stopped firing and simply drifted. The thing in the sky was impossible to look at directly. It was a structure of some kind, but its shape hurt the eyes. Parts of it seemed to exist in directions that space did not have. Lights moved across its surface, but they moved in wrong ways, casting shadows that fell upward. Morvith found his voice, though it came out as barely more than a whisper. "Communications," he gasped. What is that?" His communications officer was crying, tears running down her scaled face. "I don't know, High Chancellor. It's not responding to any scan. It's not responding to anything. It's just there." The voice spoke again, and this time it was directed at the Council Armada. "We sense our children under attack. The young ones of the third planet. The ones who found our gift. The ones who learned from our legacy." The structure moved. It should not have been able to move something that large, but it did. It came closer, and as it came closer, details became visible. Cities on its surface. Lights and patterns that might have been windows. Shapes that might have been beings, though beings of a size that made planets look small. "We are the builders," the voice continued. "We were old when your youngest stars were born. We seeded life across this galaxy. We gave your ancestors the spark of intelligence. We watched you grow. On Earth, Secretary of Defense Patricia Hayes listened to the voice in her head. She was on her knees like everyone else, but she forced herself to keep listening, keep thinking, keep hoping. We hoped you would grow wise, the builder said. We hoped you would learn to share the stars in peace. Instead, you chose conquest, domination, fear. The voice paused. When it continued, there was sadness in it, and something worse, disappointment. But these humans, they are different. They found the ruins we left on their neighbor world. They studied them. They learned. In mere decades, they have grown more than most species grow in thousands of years. They are what we hoped all our children would become. On the Council flagship, Morveith managed to stand. His fear was still there, but anger was rising above it. These creatures, whoever they were, had no right to interfere. The Council ruled this galaxy. The Council made the laws. Great ones, he said. His voice carried somehow across the void to the massive structure. These humans are primitives. They attacked our diplomatic vessel. They killed thousands of our soldiers. They are a danger to galactic stability. We have a right to protect ourselves. There was silence. Long silence. When the voice returned, the sadness was gone. Only cold remained. Silence. The word hit Morveith like a physical blow. He fell backward, gasping for air. Around him, every alien in the fleet felt the same crushing weight. We have watched you, Council, for eons, the builder said. We know what you call diplomacy. We know what you call stability. You find species weaker than yourselves, and you crush them. You steal their worlds, their resources, their freedom. You call it law. You call it order. We call it what it is, evil. The structure moved again, closer now, so close that its smallest features were larger than the largest council ships. The humans did not attack you. They defended themselves. They fought back against slavers who came to take everything from them. They won, and your response was to bring a larger army. In the desert laboratory on Earth, Kevin Wright watched through a window that faced the sky. The beacon sat beside him, its purpose fulfilled. Nancy held his hand, squeezing tight. Is this real? She whispered. Is any of this real? Kevin did not answer. He did not know. The builders continued speaking, and now their voice was directed at everyone, human and alien alike. We did not intervene when you made war on each other. We did not intervene when you enslaved the weak. We hoped you would learn. We hoped you would change. But you have not changed. You have only grown worse. The voice hardened. So now we intervene. Not to conquer. Not to rule. But to protect. A beam of light shot from the builder structure. It was not a weapon. Nothing exploded. Nothing burned. But every weapon on every council ship simply stopped working. Power cores went dark. Missiles became inert metal. Guns pointed at nothing and fired nothing. Your fleet is disabled, the builders said. You will leave this system. You will return to your worlds. And you will carry a message to every civilization in this galaxy. The light changed, becoming brighter, focused on Earth like a protective hand. Earth is under our protection. The humans are our legacy, the children we always hoped would emerge. We have given them our knowledge, our technology, our blessing. They will grow. They will spread among the stars. And when they do, they will remember how they were treated by the Galactic Council. Morveith found his voice again, though it trembled. You cannot do this. The Council has ruled for 10,000 years. We have treaties, agreements, laws. Your laws mean nothing to us. The voice was final, absolute. You have one choice. Leave now and live. Stay and die. There will be no negotiation. There will be no appeal. Choose. The Council fleet chose to live. Ships that had been disabled found just enough power to run. Engines activated. Navigation systems came online. One by one, then by dozens, then by hundreds, the vessels of the Great Armada turned away from Earth and fled toward the edge of the solar system. They did not fly in formation. They did not retreat in order. They ran like frightened animals, crashing into each other in their haste to reach hyperspace. Within an hour, the solar system was empty of alien vessels. Only the massive builder structure remained, hanging in space near Jupiter like a second sun. On Earth, people emerged from shelters and bunkers. They looked up at the sky and saw the thing that had saved them. Some fell to their knees in prayer. Others simply stared in wonder. A few laughed with relief so strong it came out as crying. Patricia Hayes walked out of her bunker and stood in the sunlight. Admiral Morrison found her there, his uniform torn and dirty, his face exhausted but alive. "We survived," he said. He sounded like he did not believe it. "We did more than survive." Patricia pointed at the builder structure in the sky. "We just became the most protected species in the galaxy. What do we do now?" Before Patricia could answer, the builders spoke one last time. The voice was softer now, gentle, almost kind. "Grow, little ones. Learn. Build. Make mistakes and learn from them. Explore the stars. Find wonders. Create beauty. When you are ready, come find us. We will be waiting." The great structure began to move. Slowly at first, then faster than light should allow. It shrank in the distance, became a dot, became nothing, and then it was gone. In the council chamber, many light years away, the returning delegates gathered in shock. Their armada had been humiliated. Their weapons had been useless. Everything they believed about their power had been proven wrong. Morvith, stripped of his title, faced judgment for provoking the builders. But the real conversations happened in whispers, in secret meetings, in coded messages passed between frightened leaders. The humans have the protection of gods. What do we do? Nothing. We do nothing. We wait. And we pray they never decide to come looking for us. 5 years passed. Humanity rebuilt, grew, spread to other planets in their solar system. The Mars ruins were studied openly now, their secrets shared freely. New ships were built. New technologies were discovered. Children born after the battle grew up knowing they were part of something larger than themselves. And one day, a human ship arrived at the Council's capital station. It was not a warship. It carried no weapons. It was a diplomatic vessel, painted white, flying the flag of United Earth. Ambassador Christopher West, a former history teacher from a small town in Ohio, walked through corridors where beings who once planned humanity's extinction now stepped aside in nervous respect. He was 50 years old, average height, with a calm smile and kind eyes. He did not look like a conqueror. He did not look like a threat. That made him more frightening than any warship. He found the council chambers and walked to the seat that had been prepared for humanity. 12 species watched him, some with fear, some with hatred, some with grudging respect. Christopher sat down and looked around at the gathered delegates. His smile never wavered. "So," he said, "shall we discuss trade agreements?" Somewhere in the chamber, a young Velthari officer quietly asked his superior, "How did we get here?" The answer came from a Mindari counselor who had argued against attacking Earth from the very beginning. Her telepathic voice was soft but carried to every mind in the room. "You attacked Earth. That's how we got here. You attacked Earth." Outside, in the vastness of space, stars burned with ancient light. Somewhere among them, the builders waited. And on a small blue planet that had once been considered primitive, humanity looked up at those stars and dreamed of the day they would explore them all. They were ready. They had always been ready. They were human.